These B2B SaaS scale to $2 million a month using Meta as their primary channel, spending over $200,000 a month every single month. But if you're a SaaS founder, you've probably been told that Meta doesn't work for B2B, that your audience isn't there, or Meta is just for cheap consumer products. The truth is most SaaS founders are just using the wrong strategy. They're running ads that everyone scrolls past, and they don't have a creative system that can handle the volume Meta needs to scale. And they're trying to sell features to strangers who don't even know they have a problem yet. Okay, let's start. So everything I'm gonna show you today is not based on theory, it's based on our experience managing for our clients more than $107 million in ad spend on Meta just last year. So today we're gonna see the SaaS growth formula, the offering positioning, and how to make an offer that is so good people feel stupid saying no, then how to get demos booked on Meta ads, the sales and marketing process to pre-sell these prospects, and then even the retention and other best practices that are gonna help you to scale. So first, I want to start with the math. How can you scale your SaaS? So we have this SaaS growth formula. Basically, your profit is, and in general, like value the business, is based on how you increase your revenue and how you decrease the cost. And that's created by increasing the visitors, increasing the conversion rate and close rate that you have, multiplied by the LTV. So how much these people pay, the pricing, and the churn, so like the retention, how long they stay. And then you have to remove the variable cost and the fixed cost to actually get to the profit. In case you're prioritizing the profit, obviously you can just prioritize the revenue too. So how can we actually impact these variables? We can have more visitors by having like multiple channels, and especially when we look at the ads, we can spend more. We can just spend more on the ads and have more visitors, but we have to make sure the other metrics are fine to do that. Or we can also improve the CTR, so improve these ads. So the CPC is gonna decrease and we get more visitors with the same ad spend. Then we can work on the conversion rate. How can we do that? So we can improve the landing page, the funnel we use, or even the creatives. What we do is going to impact the conversion rate. And same for the close rate. So the sales process, what they see before the sales process, and even the ads are going to impact that. And then I have the LTV lever, where basically I can play with the pricing, I can increase the retention, decrease churn, or even like trying to work on the customer expansion, or improve the ICP, and there are several things I can do there. And then obviously I can decrease cost. So this is just a quick overview, and something to keep in mind is that the more we're gonna scale this funnel and doing everything I'm gonna show you, the more the retention becomes important. At the beginning, it's not that important because because you don't have so many clients, but as you're gonna get bigger, then your growth ceiling is impacted mainly by the churn. And so you have to make sure you reduce that and increase your LTV. When we talk about Meta, one main question I always get is how much does Meta ads cost? What will be my CAC? Or how can I decrease my CAC? Everything should be based on your LTV. So based on your LTV, you decide your target CAC. And that can change because maybe you want to get the money back to acquire a customer in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, even 12 months or more. And that will give you the target CAC and also the target cost per booked call, considering also your close rate. So let's say that your offer price is $1,000 a month, then you want to get the money back in 3 months, for example, and if you close at, so basically your CAC would be 3K in this case, your target CAC, and then if you close at 25%, you can afford a $750 cost per qualified call, right? Obviously, if you say you want the money back to acquire a customer in 1 month, then your target CAC is 1K, but if you want that money back in 12 months, then it's 12K. So based on that, you can go more aggressive or less, and then you can calculate the cost per qualified call. And obviously you can improve your close rate, and you can also then spend even more for a cost per qualified call. And that helps because you can get much more volume on Meta because you are bidding higher than other. So usually you want to have an LTV to CAC that is at least 3x. But it's even better to look at a lifetime gross profit instead of lifetime value, because obviously then you can consider more also the cost that you have. And also, as this type of SaaS includes a sales process, and it's not a product-led funnel with like free trial, usually it's good to have even higher multiple, even higher LTV to CAC, maybe of 5x or more, especially as you scale and you get to higher volume. So then based on this, obviously if your LTV to CAC is above target, you can just increase the budget and spend more and continue to improve everything. But if the LTV to CAC is below target, yes, you can decrease the budget, but especially what you have to do is you have to identify and to fix the bottleneck. So the other part that is very important is the offer and positioning. So this is one of the most important things. And if your offer feels like nice to have, then the ads won't magically make it work. The ads are like a megaphone. So basically, they are just showing your offer to more people. If nobody wants to buy now, then it's just showing it to more people. It's not gonna help. So you want to frame the product around solving an expensive, urgent pain point and not about the features. So the prospect should feel that it's something they absolutely need right now and not eventually. Also, something important to mention is that what works for warm traffic and from referrals, it doesn't necessarily work for ads, and it often doesn't work for ads because the offer needs to be engineered from scratch for strangers, for people that don't know you, don't know your business, to make sure it actually works on Meta ads. So if we look at Hormozi formula of value, basically that's dream outcome multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achievement divided by the time delay multiplied by effort and sacrifice. So what you can do is you can show bigger dream outcome if you can achieve that for the client, and you can increase the perceived likelihood of achievement. You can decrease the time delay, or you can decrease the effort and sacrifice. And that's how you create more value, you create a more powerful offer. Something to consider too, especially if you're starting out with ads, or if you don't have funding and you're a smaller company. Something that helps companies that are smaller to, especially B2B SaaS, that want to break even on day 1, day 30, or day 60, so they don't need funding, is to have a sort of front end done for you. So that can be the onboarding, the implementation, the migration, something like that some SaaS do for free. And you have an offer like that is $3,000-$4,000 at the beginning. And then you have the SaaS subscription on the backend. That helps because even though maybe you close a couple of clients less, then these prospects are gonna pay more at the beginning, and that will help you to finance your growth, basically pay your CAC and being able to grow faster and invest this money back in ads. Then what I want to cover now is how to get demos booked with Meta ads, qualified them. So something that we recommend and we usually see working well too is to also have an outbound channel. So you can have only Meta ads that work. Ideally, you also have other channels. Something that works well for B2B SaaS is obviously outbound. So using cold emails or LinkedIn, just sending messages on LinkedIn. And also having 2 channels is usually very helpful, and then you can retarget these people also on Meta ads. Some other channels work very well are Google ads, LinkedIn ads, still working a bit worse, but still for some clients it can work well, and for some SaaS, B2B SaaS works well, and then influencers, affiliate, like that also a type of channel that could work well, but it really depends on how that's executed. But the channel that is the most scalable, it takes a bit of time to make it work, to create these systems, but then it's super scalable and you can just put more money and continue to get more qualified book calls is Meta ads. So the funnel that we see working better for most clients is from the ads sending to a VSL page where there is a short video that explains the offer, and then having an application where we can see who qualifies and who doesn't. So we send only the qualified people to the sales calls, and then we have the booking page for people that are actually qualified and the thank you page. Also, what we do is we optimize the ads only for people that are actually qualified, only for the qualified events. So if people in the application they say they have a certain revenue below the benchmark we need, then they wouldn't be qualified, and so the event won't be sent back to Meta. So we won't optimize for those people. So Meta understands who we're looking for and sends more people that are qualified to us. Something that works well too, and we do a lot, is instead of the application sending directly from the VSL page, the booking page. In the booking page, we have some questions. Based on the answers, if they're qualified, they go to the sales call. Otherwise, we don't let them schedule the call or we cancel the call. And then we have this thank you page, usually with a VSL explaining the service. Something that works well too for some businesses is to add an opt-in page with asking for the name, number, email, and that can be after the ad, before the VSL, but that depends. So that would be something like this. This is a page we created for a client of ours, where basically we say who this is for, then what we do for you, and also we tell them to watch a video. And then we have a video like this that explains the offer basically. And then you can schedule a demo. And then you go to the booking page and you can schedule the demo. When you select the time and everything, then you have to answer a few questions. Something that works well in the thank you page, like this, another client, it's not the same one, but I think it's a pretty nice example. There are very simple ones that we use with just a headline and a video. Like they did something interesting because they also added some very good copy here, and you can see there are a few points here, there are the results here, and a video that explains better how the service works. So I'll give you some benchmarks too. Obviously, this is very different for every client, but something you can consider is that for a lot of clients for a lot of B2B SaaS, we see that if you spend 10K, you might have, depending also how much your product cost, how much subscription cost, and how saturated the industry is, and a lot of other points, you might get with 10K ad spend, maybe 60 booked calls, and you spend $160 per call, and then maybe 40 are qualified calls, and so you're paying $250 for a qualified call. And then let's say you close 10, so basically you close 25%. In that case, you would have a $1,000 CAC. So usually, the cheaper your product is, the less expensive the CAC, and the least you pay. And the more expensive it is, the more you pay in terms of CAC. So usually, if you have a 50K LTV, you're gonna pay maybe more 4 or 5K CAC, or maybe something even higher. And if you have an LTV that's much lower, you might pay much less. So something else that is pretty interesting to add and works very well for some SaaS is to add a setter that is dialing opt-ins immediately on entry, so as soon as they leave the information. And sometimes we see that can decrease the cost per call in half. Also, if you have an opt-in page, you might get, for example, with $10,000 ad spend, even though you get only those 60 calls and 40 are qualified, you might get 1,000 opt-ins. And so if you have the setter, then the setter can contact them. So type of funnels that work for SaaS clients, for several B2B SaaS, are, for example, direct booking funnels, as we just mentioned, lead magnet funnels, where we can we can tell them you can download this guide for free, for example, and then they have this guide but they're gonna first have to leave on an opt-in page their name, number, and email. So then we can have the center that as soon as they download it, contacts them and also follows up with them. As we mentioned before, opt-in, VSL funnel, also instant form funnel. So basically they just leave the information on Meta and then we contact them, usually this set. So I mean, the funnel you choose, it really depends, because like we see that depending on the market, the pricing, sophistication level, we see completely different funnels work. Usually if it's a high ticket SLG B2B SaaS, a VSL page with an application and then the option to schedule a meeting works great. Then I'm gonna talk about the secret ingredient to make this funnel work, the creatives. A lot of people don't talk about this, and this is actually like the main thing you need, because like once you know the strategy and you implement these things and you have a nice landing page, then the way to make this work is with creatives. So the problem is that if you see a lot of SaaS doing ads, they are doing these ads that are really corporate, or they use mainly statics, or they use UGC ads from creators that are doing mainly e-commerce videos, and they're not really used to do ads for a software business. So the main problem is the quality is not good enough. These ads look like ads, and also they don't do enough ads, because you need to test so many ads right now to find winners. Also, when you have good creatives, they increase the CTR, so with the same ad spend, you get more clicks and more visitors. They increase the conversion rate on the page, so with the same budget, you get more calls and a lower cost per qualified call. Also, good ads educate and pre-sell prospects, so you get more qualified calls, you get a higher close rate, and with the same budget, you get more new clients, a lower CAC, and potentially a higher LTV. We've tested a lot and we saw that you basically need at least 50 new ads every month to just find one winner that actually scales the ad. So you need a creative system to produce high quality ads consistently and learn from the results. So that's why every month for our clients, we script, film, edit, and deliver at least 50 stealth ads, basically ads that don't look like ads. And these are videos built with native storytelling, authentic creators, and scripts that actually mirror your target user. So at a certain point, we mainly prioritized the volume and the testing of different marketing angles. But then what we realized is that volume isn't enough. And that's why once we find some angles that work well, we take those angles and we rebuild them using a lot of different formats that work very well for SaaS. So for example, a podcast style expert breakdown that position the SaaS as the market leader, something like this.
We had this expensive CMMS that required 12 clicks just to report a broken belt.
Wow.
My guys went back to clipboards.
But don't all CMMS systems claim to be easy to use?
Sure, they demo great in conference rooms.
So you can see here that you have an expert, you have someone asking these questions, then we add some B-rolls to basically make the message stronger. We have straight interviews, work pretty well too.
Hi, good question. Do you invest?
Yes, I do.
How do you deal with nowadays market fluctuations? Like, do you have a financial advisor?
Yes, but honestly, these days it's not enough.
Or authority-led educational ads that build trust and demand, like this one, like spokesperson format.
Nothing frustrates me more as a night shift supervisor than getting a call at 3 a.m. because line 3 went down again and nobody saw it coming. Here's what's really happening. Day shift is doing reactive maintenance, patching things up, sending problems down the line.
Or this one.
Your maintenance team isn't burned out. They're just fed up. They're just tired of flipping through manuals and searching for a cool spot in the storeroom, trying to find a part that's not even there, and ending every...
Or like POV style ads.
If you're a do-it-yourself car person like me, you need to watch this.
I want to show you guys a simple...
And then we have many other proven formats I can show you, but we test a lot and we focus a lot on the actual execution of the ads too. So basically, as I was mentioning before, like we saw that the volume of ads is very, very important, and that's why we create always at least 40-50 ads every month to find some winners. but the main focus is actually finding those winners, right? Not just doing volume. And that's why we focus a lot on the angles, the formats, and the creative system behind this. So there are two main metrics when we talk about creatives that are very important. One is how many of the ads we create become top spenders. What's the percentage? What's the win rate? And then the volume. So how many ads are we creating? Especially like unique concepts, because now there is a new update on Meta Andromeda, and so when you create ads that are pretty similar, they're gonna go to the same audience. So let's also take a look at the process behind this, how we get these results, and how we find these winning ads. So one part that is very important, and I won't go too in depth here. I also have other videos where I go more in depth on the creative part, but still one part that is very important, not just for Meta ads for the creatives, but in general for doing the landing page, for all your marketing, right, is the research. So what's working right now, what's working for competitors, what's working on organic, what are understanding very well your customers and buyer personas. So I won't explain the first two. I'll just go through the customer and buyer persona part for now. So we basically go through all social medias. We see everything we can find. Also, we use some AI agents to help with the research and to find many more insights. You can search on YouTube, basically like something in the product category, or just questions that are correlated. We can look at the reviews, testimonials, like what people say about the tool, about the SaaS, and also about competitors. Then you can find some insights like this one, for example, these ones we found for a client of ours. You can see a lot of objections or a lot of pain points. For example, here for this client, we saw that a lot of people couldn't find an AI that could actually understand their brand voice. So that became an angle. So you can search on Google. You can brainstorm a lot of things from here, even just on TikTok, and see the videos that go more viral but are going better. So that's a very, very important part, and we have a full process of how we do that. And I have also some videos where I go more in depth on that. Then another part that is very important is a creative strategy. So how can we find winning ads, and also ads that are pretty diverse, so we can get a bigger audience, and that can definitely help to scale on Meta. So we look at the main buyer personas, we decide some buyer personas. For each buyer persona, we look at the awareness levels. So you have unaware, where you have to explain the problem they have, because they don't even know they have a problem. Problem aware, so you say you have this problem, we have this solution for you. Solution aware, so they know there is a solution, but they are considering other solutions that are pretty different. So you explain that your solution is better. Or product aware, they are just looking at you as competitors. You want to show why you're better than competitors. So with this breakdown, basically we can start to list down the angles that are the best for that buyer persona and this awareness level. And then once we decide, okay, now we're going to prioritize this buyer persona with this awareness level, with this angle, then we can say, okay, what's the format that actually communicates better that message? And maybe we say, actually, it's a podcast ad. That would work very well. So basically, we end up with a creative strategy map. In Miro, it would be something like this, with the main buyer personas. You have the product at the top, main buyer personas, one main reason to buy or pain point for each one of those. Awareness levels, we list down the angles, and then we add a star to the ones we want to prioritize. This is very useful, not just for the ads, but also for all your marketing. So basically, for each ad we create, we're gonna say, now we're gonna speak to this buyer persona with this reason to buy, with this specific awareness level, using this angle. We're gonna communicate that with this format. We're gonna use this creator, and we're gonna create this script for this. So it's very strategic, and that helps us to also get a lot of learnings of what works and what doesn't. Then something we see a lot is people asking, okay, well, why I tested this ad 2 times, like same angle, same message, but then this time worked and this time didn't? Or why I tested this ad, this angle multiple times, it never worked, then you tried it and it worked? And so the main reason usually is how you create these ads, the execution, right? Because we see it's much easier to actually have good ideas, but then it's difficult to actually execute them and make people believe what they hear and actually resonate with them. So one problem we see is that most ads look like ads. So That's why we focus on using formats that look more like content, like more organic videos than normal ads. So if your ads look like ads, people are not really gonna resonate with them. Because if you say, I'm obsessed with this new SaaS tool, or this is a game changer, this is gonna change everything, like people know that's fake and they don't really resonate with that. But you can have an organic format that makes people stop, listen, and trust. Like I showed before, like a podcast style ad, a straight interview, educational ads with authority figures, and many more. Something that helps a lot is to match the format to the angle. So even though a lot of businesses are actually pretty good at understanding the angle and what they need to communicate to convince people to buy, then they really struggle to communicate it well and to use a format that matches that angle and execute it well. So we try to match very well the angle with the format. For example, in this case, we said the angle is this one. They want to create a lot of content, but they have no time. The format we're going to use is a podcast. So it's going to give us authority and it's going to help us to communicate this. The most common alternative in this case is Canva, so we're going to use all of these in this ad.
Canva. For real, I mean, why are you still using that?
Well, everybody uses it, but it just doesn't capture my client style the way.
And then last part is basically the creative analysis. So we analyze each creative using custom metrics, so we understand what worked and what didn't work and what can we improve. Because obviously we can improve the overall CPA, but we can also look at did this ad actually stop people, retain people, make people click or not, and we can work on those parts too. Another part that's pretty important is the tracking. So at the beginning it's less important, but the more you scale, the more it becomes important. And the metapixel sometimes can track pretty well, but a lot of times it can track only 50% of conversions. So you may lose a lot of conversions, and if you implement server-side tracking with a conversion API, then you might even get to 80-100% of conversions tracked, and that can help the CAC to decrease to 20% or even more. Now I'll go quickly through a few other things now that we covered the meta process. So we're gonna look at the sales process quickly and how we can close these prospects. So it's very important that these people that come from cold traffic, they don't know you, that we have a process before the call. So we pre-sell these people. We want to warm the prospect before they show up. So usually something that is very important, as I showed before, is a thank you page via sell that explains the service. Then having FAQs and retargeting ads, also email sequences, and these prospects should arrive almost sold to the sales call with just the last questions or objections. You shouldn't have to explain everything again in the call. Then during the discovery call or the demo call, you should have a script. You should make sure everything is systematized and optimized, and the pre-call process anyway should do most of the work. So when they are on the call, they should already know your pricing, your process, and your results. I mean, you can leave the pricing for the call too, but the more information you give before, the better. So the call just confirms the fit and handles the final questions. So you also have to have a structured question sequence to understand their situation and then map your solution to their situation. You also want to continuously extract the recurring objections using AI from the call recordings and then build responses for each one that you can use during the call and also in the content. In general, to handle objections, you want to take all the objections from the call transcripts using AI, build a lot of sales assets. So even YouTube videos like this one, where you can show that you have experience on what you're doing, that you actually understand them, and things like this. You want to show case studies, even just selfie videos that you can send them to explain specific things. And so you can address each objection. And then this content also can be used very well and can really help for ads. Then another part that is important is the nurturing. So nurturing should be before, during the process, and after. So for people that opt in case you have an opt-in page but didn't book a call, you want to have a 15 or 30 day sequence that educates them and warm the leads until they actually book a call. Then after the call, and also during the process of them booking a call, you want to have retargeting ads that are active for these type of people, and also email flows for the leads who took the call but didn't close, because they could really close in the future. And then having in these sequences a lot of content that is based on the objections and on handling these objections. And that, depending on the business, especially the more high ticket you go, you might actually close a lot of these from the follow-ups. And then you even want to have some nurturing after closing these people. So some sort of retention and expansion. So basically you want to have flows that prevent churn, that upsell, also low activity alerts, win back flows, and in general these are going to help you to decrease churn and increase the LTV. So some email flows that are pretty important to install are welcome, onboarding, achievement or gamification, upsell, ascension, review request, referral, no login, low activity, cancellation page view, cancellation, win back. So there are a lot of flows that you can implement there for retention. So as we mentioned, everything here is connected to the math that we have to scale a SaaS. So our math is visitors multiplied by conversion rate and close rate and multiplied by LTV minus the cost, right? And as you scale this paid funnel and you are actually able to scale Meta and getting so many booked qualified calls, then it's very important that you also work a lot on the retention and reducing the churn, or even just the expansion to basically increase the LTV of these clients, because that's really gonna help you to scale much more. And once you scale with the acquisition, then that becomes the thing that has the highest impact on your growth ceiling. So that's mainly it. If you want us to run a paid funnel like this to book qualified demo calls for your business, then you have a link here below in the description. You can book a call with me and I'm happy to take a look at your business, give you some recommendations, and then you can apply them yourself, or we can do that for you. If you have any questions or just like this type of content, just let me know here in the comments, or follow me on X and send me a message with the content you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.